let's take a look at the Starscourge Radahn Statblock for Dungeons & Dragons by MonkeyDM. Radahn is, of course, an AC 17 creature with 255 hit points, give or take. They are CR 14. They only resist radiant damage. They have plus 10 athletics and plus 1 to perception. Plus 10 strength, plus 9 dex, and int. They have 10-foot blind sight and 120 feet of dark vision, and a passive perception of 11. No languages are listed as being known for Radahn, and this is to characterize Radahn having been drawn mad by the Scarlet Rot. Radahn has the Fury ability, which is effectively a way of incorporating the 4th edition Bloody mechanic into Radahn, and also allowing MonkeyDM to split Radahn into multiple different phases, with the Fury ability on the Phase 1 stat sheet. When Radahn reaches 126 hit points or lower, or half health, he enters a state of Fury. He gains access to new actions that are noted in the stat block with Fury in their tags. In addition, as a reaction to entering this state of Fury, having been enraged, Radahn plunges the great sword into the ground and covers them with rocks. The following minute, they deal in an additional 5 or 1d10 bludgeoning damage, which you'll see later, even though it might seem small, it's very impactful. Pun intended. He has legendary resistance once per day. He has the legendary rider feature, which means that he cannot be considered as separated from his mount. He cannot fall off of it, and this actually characterizes the fact that Leonard and Radahn are effectively one singular being. Gravity weapons is a feature, which literally just means that Radahn's weapon attacks are considered magical. And he has Starly, which means that when he reaches 0 hit points, you know how he comes flying back down to the fucking ground as a meteor in Elden Ring? Well, that fucking happens right here. And then you switch over to the Phase 2 stat block. Now, he does have multi-attack 3. He makes 3 great sword attacks, and he can replace 2 of these attacks with a singular cross-dive attack. And when he's enraged with Fury, he can make an additional gravity wave attack. You'll see what that does later. His great swords have plus 10 to hit, a 10-foot reach. Now you might think that's fairly small, but you have to think that the Elden Ring character is only about 5'10". So this is actually just about to scale. It's a pretty decent eyeballing, and I think it's pretty nice. And on hit, it does 46 plus 5 or 19 slashing damage, which is very respectable for CR 14. And then if he's enraged, you get to add an additional 5 bludgeoning damage. It's nuts. It's awesome. I love it. Scourge Arrow is a ranged weapon attack with plus 9 to hit, 150-foot range, but it is single target only. He can do 31 damage on hit, and it's piercing damage plus 5 force damage. And Radahn has advantage on this attack rolls. All creatures in the path must succeed on DC 17 saving, or they also take this damage. And I honestly think that he should allow creatures to make the DC 17 dexterity saving throw whether they are the target or not, because that would mimic the dodge rolling that you do in Elden Ring. Although you can argue that taking the dodge action actually does effectively do this. Now, a gravity wave means that a gravity surge erupts in a 10-foot wide and 30-foot long line AoE in front of Radahn. Every character in that wave has to succeed on DC 17 dexterity, or they take 9 force damage. They're knocked prone. That's some good shit. It's a really strong monster, but he is fairly balanced for CR 14 as is. You'll see in a little bit when Phase 2 stat block happens. Now, when he is enraged, he can make the cross dive attack. He can leap forward 15 feet without triggering attacks of opportunity, and the wave of gravity erupts behind him. Basically, it is a gravity wave behind him that does 3d8 damage instead of 2d8. So 13 flat. And it's the same effect. Now, once per 5 to 6 turns, he can do Rain of Arrows. He can fire a burst of arrows into the sky just like in the game. can shower the enemy with projectiles falling from the heavens themselves. And the area consists of up to 10 5-foot large cubes, which he can arrange as he wishes. Every cube has to have at least one face adjacent to the face of another. So you can just sort of think of this as, oh hey, he can track. It's literally just like he can track the characters, just like the Rain of Arrows can in the game. It deals 22 flat or 5d8 piercing damage on a failed save, half as much on a successful one. And you guessed it, is the DC 17 dexterity save. Pretty decently balanced. I really do enjoy this so far. Now, here we go on to the Phase 1 legendary actions. We have Gravity Step, in which he makes a great sword attack and moves 10 feet. Collapsing Stars, which he can only use while he is enraged. With Fury, he can fire a bunch of projectiles to a singular point within 90 feet, but every creature in a 30-foot cone back from that target has to succeed on a dexterity saving throw, or they take 18 force damage and they're pulled 30 feet straight towards Radahn. Now, we have Starcaller Cry. You'll notice that Radahn has 3 total legendary actions that he can take per turn. And he can only take them at the end of another creature's turn. However, he can actually expend all of his legendary action points on Starcaller Cry. He can't spend only one. He has to spend either 2 or all of them. With Starcaller Cry, all creatures in a 20-foot radius centered on them are pulled towards Radahn if they fail a 17 DC strength save, and they take 13 force damage, a fairly small amount unless you are weak to it. And then, if he expended all of his legendary actions for this one attack, he can then slam the greatswords down onto the ground, generating a gravitational explosion. Every creature in this radius must succeed on 17 DC dexterity save, where they take 19 or 3d12 bludgeoning damage, and they're pushed back 15 feet and knocked prone. When they fail, of course. When a success, they only take half as much damage, and they're not pushed back, or are they knocked prone. Creatures within 5 feet have disadvantage in the save. So you should notice just about immediately from reading through the stat block of Phase 1 with me that Radahn is not really the bruiser sort of person. He is the get the fuck in there, take all the damage, and just fuck shit up type of stat block. Have to play as aggressive as possible against him, or you're gonna fucking lose. It's literally like 1-2 small mistakes, and there's a high chance that you could die. It's not a very easy monster to beat, but bosses never are intended to be easy. And you see how he knocks you prone really often? That is from Elden Ring, and knocking you prone in Dungeons & Dragons, if you don't play it, or if you're just somebody who doesn't remember, you have to take an action in order to get back up from being prone, which means that you effectively lose a single turn if you are knocked prone. Which adds in a very, very strong level of tacticianry into this. Haste will become a very valuable spell, because with haste you can actually get back up as a bonus action. Well, depending on your DM, I personally rule that if you have haste, you can then actually get back up from prone as a bonus action instead of as an action, because it's haste, or moving at basically double speed. But even in, let's just say, Phase 1 Radahn, nothing to be fucked with. But Phase 2 is scary. Now we arrive to Phase 2's stat block. Radahn retains all of the stats of the original status block. However, he regains all of his hit points from 0. He goes up 1 challenge rating, and he gains a few new features and legendary actions. His attacks stayed the same, and his multi-attack now always has a gravity wave attack. Now, instead of just simply having gravity weapons, his weapons have now become crag blades. They are magical weapons, and when he hits with his greatsword, the weapon deals an additional 5 or 1d10 bludgeoning damage included in the attack. He can summon gravity meteors as a bonus action twice per day. He summons 4 from the ground which hover above him, and on subsequent turns he can release all 4 as a bonus action targeting creatures he can see within 90 feet. Guessed it. DC 17 save, or take 22 up to 40 bludgeoning damage, and you're knocked prone. He also has Starfall, which means that he can climb up into the heavens and fall down to the ground as a meteor. You can do this on anyone, anywhere, in a 90-foot straight line, and all creatures whose space he's enter has to make a DC 18 saving throw. They take 3d10 bludgeoning damage and 3d10 fire damage, up to 60 total damage. And creatures have advantage on the saving throw, meaning he's mimicking how largely telegraphed this attack is. So players might only fall for it once, which is very, very well written, because you really do only fall for it like once or twice in Elden Ring before you figure out how to dodge it. Now, as I reminded you, his multi-attack has changed. He has 3 greatsword attacks and the gravity wave attack no longer as an option. He always does take it. His greatsword attacks are still 19 slashing, but they now have that 5 bludgeoning damage included in them. Stir. Here we go onto the legendary actions, because Gravity Wave and Rain of Arrows are both completely unchanged. He no longer has to be enraged to choose Collapsing Stars. In fact, I would say that he is considered as being enraged during this point anyways, although you can optionally include a secondary enrage on him if you really want to be a sadistic DM. He has Gravity Step still, and he still has Starcaller Cry. They are all unchanged. But he now has Spiraling Death, which costs 2 of his 3 legendary actions. He spirals down towards his foes. He moves 60 feet straight without trickery and attacks of opportunity. And all creatures whose space he enters has to succeed on a DC 18 saving throw dexterity, or take 22 up to 40 bludgeoning damage, and they're knocked pro. And then he does it again. So this should show you that Phase 2 Radahn is the real boss. He does go up 1 CR. It's not many changes, but the few changes that he does gain add and a lot of extra mobility, a lot of extra damage to him. They make him just that little bit more formidable. And by splitting this into 2 separate stat blocks, he doesn't have to burden everything onto the DM to memorize a stat block. He can split it off into 2. You can read the DM's stat blocks on the fly. It's got well written, well documented. It's pretty fun to use, in my opinion. I think it'd be a very fun addition to your campaign if you plan on using Elden Ring bosses in your campaign, or if you really just want to be sadistic. However, if you are a player and you know that your DM is likely to use this stat block against you, here's what I'm going to recommend. Heal Bitch is always good. So Life Domain Cleric, a Circle of the Shepherd Druid or Circle of Dreams Druid is going to be really nice for you. Having a Circle of the Moon Druid can help you get out lots and lots of damage. War Domain Clerics. I don't see a lot of people talk about them, but I have seen War Domain Clerics become damn near unkillable by CR14 monsters. Just use one of those. Or if you really, really just want to be a basic bitch, just use a human fighter. Well, variant human fighter. It's just gonna help you out to be super tanky and have a little bit of damage. Radahn is really going to be aggressive, all up in your face. You're not gonna be able to get away from him because his range is so large, and if you guys aren't paying attention to your party formation, he can actually just kill all of you in one hit. You have to somewhat wargame against this boss because he has so many AoEs that you have to deal with. He has so many ways to knock you prone, so many ways to make you lose a turn, lose an action. You're gonna have to use every single thing in your kit to fight this, and I purposefully want to say that I encourage you to damn near wargame against this boss. if you know them from Elden Ring, just think about all the ways that a D&D character can do it better. Just think. Like seriously, I would recommend you sit down and just think, what can I do that I think would be fun that I can do against Radahn as a D&D character, not as a Dark Souls character? How can I break the stat block in my favor? That's all I have for you guys today. Much love and stay sexy. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.